Hello, today we will be making butternut squash, and what you will need is 1.5 butternut squash because that's the amount you need. You'll also need 1 onion, you'll need 1 pepper, you'll need 2 carrots, but I'm going to use 3 because they're quite small. You'll also need 1.5 litres of vegetable stock, so we will be using 2.5. And you'll also need 1 bit of root ginger, and you will need vegetable oil, sorry, and you'll need chopped basil for the garnish. Make sure you've washed your hands, make sure you have a normal chef knife, a board. Today I'm using a white board. I know that's actually for dairy, but that's all I have. Make sure you've washed the butternut squash, which I've already done. And what you're going to do is you're going to chop the side off. You're going to cut the root off like that and just spin it, because you can't really use it. Now as you'll see there's seeds in it, but that's okay. You're going to chop it in half. You're going to peel it. It's quite hard to peel. Usually in the summer it's glossy, but because it's been winter it will have a hard shell and you can't eat it. In summer though you can. Butternut squash is really good for pies, anything like that really. Okay, I've chopped all the veg, I've chopped all the butternut squash. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop it, should look like that. I'm going to chop it in half. Now you're probably going to have to remove the seeds because I don't think people really want seeds. So all you need to do is just spoon it out like that. It gets everywhere. Just look like that. There should be any seeds, and with the seeds just spin them, and you're going to repeat this for each and every one. Now if you've de-seeded them, you now want to large dice them. So you just want them at least 3 centimeters thick. So we're probably talking about that. That's literally perfect. And then what you want to do is you're going to want to put it into your roasting tin, and you just repeat this with all your veg, large dice it, all of it, and then you put it in your tray, and I'll show you what to do next. Now we're going to do the pepper. Just twist it and it should just come out. If it doesn't, then just it's not coming out. It wasn't coming out, so now it comes out. I just had to kind of chop that off. Now you just de-seed it, take out all the seeds, because you don't really want seeds in your meal. the little sticky bit on there accidentally. Now again, just chop it in half. Chop it in half again. Now, like I said, you want it diced as well, so cut it in half. There you go. Just put it in with it. So again, cut it in half. You want them all around an equal size. If they're not equal size, then they won't cook properly. Just take off all the white bits. Yes, if you feel like there needs to be more pepper in it, go ahead, take more pepper. We're going to start with carrots now as well. They're quite small carrots, so I'm going to use 3. I'm trying to think of this one here. There we go. You want to peel them, make sure you wash them. Peel them. Make sure you have a colander, because make sure you have a colander so you can rinse them again once they're chopped. Off and tail it, chop it in half, chop it again. Now, you're probably going to want to chop it like that, so you've got about that size. And just continue this with the rest of the 3 carrots. Some good things to make with carrots are carrot cake. You can make carrot soup. You can also make really good salads if you love hummus. You can do that as well. And just continue, yeah. And the same with the onion as well. Make sure you bin all of your peelings. You can use it as a stock if you want to. But today I'm using store-bought stock, as I do not have enough time. Now, the correct name for this is actually Butternut, if I'm saying it correctly. Yes. Another good thing you can actually use carrot for is soup, which I'm doing now. People think it's quite odd to put carrot into butternut squash, and it is a bit odd. I actually got this recipe from Mary Berry. I think it is quite odd that just put carrot and peppers in it. But yes. Okay. Once you've rinsed carrot, put it into your roasting tin. Now, you're going to need 1 onion, 1 large onion. If you have a small onion, then just use 2 onions. I hate peeling onions. This is one thing I absolutely despise. I always get, whenever I have to peel an onion, I use it quickly, and I use shallots, which are kind of, well, they're basically onions, but they're much more sweeter. actually, if you don't have onions at home, then you can use shallots if you really want to. But the amount of time it has to go in the oven for, I wouldn't quite recommend it. Yes. So you probably want to chop it in half. Right in half, like that. So yeah, you got that. Now, you don't want to go all the way to the end, but you want to like follow the lines. So just follow the lines. I took 2 years of cooking. I'm actually in my 2nd year. These aren't my own knives. You want to make an incision, around it there. You want to go again. Yes, but these aren't my own knives. These are my mother's knives. They definitely need a quick sharpen. You just want to put that all around. All around. And as you can see, that's what it should look like. That's exactly what it should look like. And you want to keep doing this, and with the root ginger, you're going to want to peel it and chop it very, very smallly, because we'll be using that later. Okay, I've done all the onions. Now you want to just mix up a little bit. Sorry, this is like actually making me cry, the onions. Now you want to get about, you want to just give it a drizzle, if I can open it. Right, there we go. So you just want to do like a small drizzle of vegetable oil. You can use olive oil, but it doesn't really necessarily give the flavour, so just a small, not too much. If you want, you can add butter to it, but I'm not going to add butter. You want pepper and, well, and you want sea salt. You don't have to use sea salt. You can use any pepper you want, any salt you want. But I'm just going to use that. Get your spoon, give it a good, make sure you've coated everything. Because you don't want anything to burn. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the oven for 45 minutes. Or until brown, not brown, but ishy brown. But I'm going to do 30 minutes because then I'm going to turn it. And that's one of them fell on the floor, which I'm going to pick up. Okay. It's looking alright. This is what it should look like. Now, this isn't a roasting tin. If you have a roasting tin, use it. I just have to use this because this is what I have in my hands. And yeah, put it in the oven for 40 minutes, 30 minutes, then give it a turn, then keep it in for the next 10 minutes, and I'll show you next step. Once you've done that, put in the veg in the oven at 180. Make sure you have a timer on or something. You're gonna do your root ginger. Now it's gonna look like this, and you're probably gonna think, oh my god. Really just chop it, and then you peel it, and then it's gonna look like this. It's gonna be a very strong smell. You don't want a lot of it because it can overpower the soup. What you're gonna do is you're gonna finely chop it. It's the smallest you can possibly do, as if you're doing a garnish. and it has to be so small because it's a very overpowering smell. It's very over in taste as well. It's a bit like cinnamon. It's ridiculously flavouredness. Once you've done this, you're going to want to fry it. So the soup base you're using, so I'm using this, you're going to want to put it in there with some oil, and you're going to fry it off. And then you're going to pour your stock in and you're going to let it boil. Now once you've done that, your veg should be ready. Now it should look like this. That's what it should look like. It should be very, 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 very small. Once you've done it, you're going to tip it into your... You're going to tip it in there. You're going to put it there. I wouldn't start frying it off now because now we need to make up our stock. Now you're going to do your stock. Now I am using the brand Knox. It said on the recipe you needed to use 2.5, but I'm using 3 because I think there's not going to be enough and there's quite a lot of veg, so I don't want it to not work, if you know what I mean. So just put the stock cube in, and this is a 1 litre jug. So we're going to need another half mil, so only put 2 stocks in. You're now going to heat up your kettle, make sure it's full of water, and now to wait. Make sure you've cleaned down everything, so clean your knife, your board, excess veg that peelings or anything, put them in a bag and then dispose of them. Okay, now that the kettle's boiled, you're gonna pour it into this, and this, I actually, because this is only a litre, I had to get another half, so I'm using my own Jack Wills cup. So just make sure that you need to actually measure it. So I didn't put enough water in it. So this is the first cup. I didn't put enough water in it, so you know. You're gonna want a spoon. Just give it a little stir. You want to wait until it's melted. So like that, you want to get that away. You want to wait till it's purely melted. Just waiting for the kettle to boil. I thought I had enough, but apparently not. The veg is looking alright. It's looking quite fine. Now the water's going to reduce when we put it in the pot. So it's actually quite good to have extra veg, because when you blend it, you will need a hand blender. If you don't have a hand blender, you're going to need a hand blender. If you have a food processor, that could actually work as well, but you'd have to put it on high. Okay, that's boiled now. So you're just gonna pour it so it's around about there. So you're gonna have to wait. It's all the way up. Now this soup could probably feed. Are we gonna get there? We're gonna get there. So close, so close, so close. And we're there. Okay. So this soup could probably feed round about 5, maybe 6 people. Now in my family there's 6 people. So everyone will probably get a bowl full. And now we just need to wait till that. We'll give it a stir. Giving it a good stir now. Once this is finished, I'm going to fry the ginger. You want to put about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in the pot. And you want to make sure that it's fried. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this in it. And then we're going to wait till it's boiled. And hopefully by then the veg will be done. We're at about 20 minutes to go until I turn it, so maybe not. That looks about it. I want to put another stock cube in it, but I've already went halfway through the instructions, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. Now, if there's anything you need to clean it, do the dishes. First though, make sure you've binned all excess foods that you haven't used, like peelings and that, and make sure you're nice and clean and tidy, because it's hygiene. Okay, I am all chopped up. I am all cleaned. And now we're going to do the garnish. I was going to get thyme, but they had no thyme, so basil was the option. You can get fresh basil, which I recommend. And this is fresh basil. That's not like it's fresh that I want it to be. So you just want to get like the leaves. You can chop up stem if you want, but I just prefer the leaves. So for me, because I'm obviously feeding 6 people, possibly 5, I'm only really using about 5-6 leaves, and the rest will be saved for another day. It's quite a strong smell, and what you're wanting to do is you're going to rinse it. With cold water, and you want to squeeze it out, just put it there. You want to roll it up, just it's easier to chop really. Just like we did with the ginger, as small as you possibly can. And some people with a bread, because you can, with the squash, we'll be serving crusty bread. Now, if I wasn't at home, and if I was in like the kitchen, I'd probably make my own bread. And to make your own bread, it's really, really easy. All you really need is yeast. It can be dry, or it can be like store-bought, or it can be different kind of yeast. You need flour, water, oil. It's really simple. It's like simple stuff you basically have. And you're sorry, my board keeps moving. Yes, and the stock It's luckily worked out pretty well. I was thinking it wouldn't actually work, but it did. So as thinly as possible, that is literally what you want. And it probably best puts like on a plate, so like when you're serving you can just sprinkle it. Hasn't really turned out the way I thought it would turn out. Plate. So I've got a plate here, and you just want to transfer it. Now my hands are covered in it, so okay. That's what it should look like. It's not a lot, but you don't want to over garnish it, and if you want more, then you know you can have more. You can actually serve cream as well, but my sister is dairy free, so I would have to buy special cream, and it's a pain because it's quite expensive, and I know I'm not going to use it all, so it's like, you know, your board's going to be like pretty green, pretty stained probably, but if you're using a wooden board, then, you know, probably be easier. Just clean it, clean everything, make sure that everything's nice and clean, and then we'll get started on the ginger. Once you're all cleaned up, fry your ginger with a wooden spoon preferably. Don't use a metal spoon because the heat can rise up and it can actually burn your fingers. If you're wearing gloves for any reason, because you're possibly allergic to something, I wouldn't really recommend wearing gloves near heat because it's, you know, it can end really badly. So just use a wooden spoon, stir constantly because you don't want it to stick, and it can possibly burn your pot if you let it stick, depending on how much oil you've put in. And once it's semi-fried, it should, basically all the oil should be soaked up. There shouldn't be any oil in the pot anymore. You're going to want to pour in your 2 hot steaming stocks. If you want to add more stock, you can, but bear in mind we're going to be blending it with a hand blender, which I have. So you don't really want it to be that watery, but if your child is fussy with how thick it is, or maybe he or she likes it a bit watery, then you can add more stock. If you're going to add more stock, though, I would add about 40 mils at the most. So yeah, I'm going to go fry my ginger. I fried garlic. I put in the stock carefully because it started to, like, you know, it's hot, so pour it in very gently unless you want burned in the face. And this is what it looks like. We're probably going to have to skim it, which is basically getting the ladle and putting it at the edge of it and kind of getting all that oil out. But we're going to do that before we put in our veg, and our time's actually up for 30 minutes, believe it or not. So I'm going to take it out, and yeah, we're going to see how it is. Okay. So this is what it looks like. Now I can see a lot of oil, which I'm not liking, but that's what it looks like. Kind of reminds me of like a barbecue, if you know what I mean. So you're gonna get a spatula. Just don't want to burn my hands. I'm gonna do that. Give it a good go over. I'm kind of happy that I added a lot of oil to it, because sometimes I've read reviews that sometimes it sticks. So that's why I added a lot of garlic. Not garlic, oil, sorry. The onions are looking a bit, you know. Now, the reason you actually roast it is because butternut takes ages to cook, because it has to be like a good consistency. Okay, there we go. Give it a good turnover. We're going to put it in for another 10-15 minutes. So that's what it looks like now. It's looking pretty good. It honestly reminds me of a barbecue. So we're going to put it back in the oven. Right a bit there. So in for another 15 minutes. Still 180. Make sure the fan's on. And now we have to wait for our stock to boil. You'll know when it's boiling because it will be bubbling. And yeah. So make sure that you've got your garnish. If you want to chop more, but you don't want to like over garnish it. You know what I'm saying? And yes, once that's boiled and once that's came out, I might take it out a bit early, I'm not quite sure yet. Then we're going to pour that, we're going to pour the veg into the stock and we're going to take it from there. We're going to stir it for a bit and then for about 10 minutes, then we're going to hand blend it. Okay, so that's the veg in the pot now. Now, because there was a lot of oil, you're probably want to get in one of these, which I can't remember what it's called. And then you're want to put it at the edge and skim it, so all the oil's out of it, if there's any excess oil. And then you want to leave it to boil until around about 10 to 15 minutes, until the water stock has went down a little bit. The soup's ready now, so make sure you put a towel there so it doesn't burn the bunker and hand blend it. Once it's all blended, pour into bowls for how many people you're serving and garnish with the basil. You can serve with crusty bread. And there you have it. I've served 3 people with some crusty bread and a garnish of basil, and it smells amazing.